Welcome to the Battlefield Show. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and I'm joined by my co-host, Sammy Boy.
What's going on, guys? Great to be here.
And today, we're talking all things about our history with the franchise, as well as our thoughts on the gameplay and the reveal trailer. So let's jump right into it. Let's just jump right into things. I'm Sage. I'm from Uplink Podcast, and I'm joined by Sammy Boy. We're both huge Star Wars fans, but alongside Star Wars, we're also big fans of Battlefield. I think you have definitely more of the storied history with the game series. I started my game love of Battlefield with Battlefield. I think it's 1942 or 43.
I think there's two. I think there was both, actually, now that I think of it.
Okay.
I think 1942 was their first one.
Yeah, so I started my experience with the Battlefield franchise with Battlefield 1943. It's what really got me started on the franchise and made me aware of things, but I didn't really jump into the game series really hardcore until Battlefield 1, where I definitely sunk my teeth into the game franchise, and that was alongside... came out pretty recently alongside Battlefront 2015, so it was that similar feel, in between DLC drops, I'd jump in and play some Battlefield, and the campaign for Battlefield 1 is incredible.
Oh, it was so good. It was it has to be probably my favorite as well. I think it was just so immersive, and I hadn't really played any World War I games before that either, so it was it was actually historically interesting as well.
Definitely. It's such a great feel, and I love the limitations of the weapons around that time frame, because you can't pull off crazy insane stunts, but because of the limitations of the technology at the time, it's a different flavor of those,
Yeah.
What are some of your experiences with where did it really start for you?
I think the first actual game that I played was Battlefield 2, which I think was 2005 or something, but I mostly just played that offline. I didn't really play any multiplayer, so I would say, yeah, it was around probably 1943 or Bad Company 2. They were the first two that I played any real multiplayer, and then I'd say Battlefield 3 was when I really fell in love with it, because the games before that were more just, I was a bit more casual and just sort of jumped in every now and then, but Battlefield 3 was the first one that I bought it on launch day and played the hell out of it. So
okay,
yeah, I would say Battlefield 3 was really the first proper game that, like you said, I kind of sunk hours into that game. But yeah, there was a few that I had played earlier that at least made me aware of the franchise anyway.
Yeah, so we both have we were introduced to the franchise, and then we found a game that really let us deep dive into it. What are some of the things that really draws you to Battlefield as a franchise?
In general, I'm just a fan of most shooters, really. But I think the thing that Battlefield does better than the rest is the team play elements of it. Games like Call of Duty, for example, they're always good fun to just sort of jump in and sort of mess around a bit. But Battlefield is a bit more team oriented, and you can actually get I feel like you have a lot more of those moments where you're playing with randoms that you've never met before, and you guys are actually helping each other out and resupplying each other and stuff. And I think that's the thing that I always loved. Yeah, in Call of Duty,
they're insulting your mother, your cow, everything, exactly. Even if they're on your same team.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's probably the biggest draw to the franchise for me. Just the team play, and the fact that it's a bit more objective based. People actually play the objective, and everyone tries to win. Whereas in most other shooters, it's mostly just about getting kills and trying to do the best that you can. And that is still you still do that in Battlefield. You obviously want to get as many kills as you can and have fun. But I think that other side of the game where if you're not having a good game, you can still be a medic and help your team and stuff like that. I think that's really what draws me to the franchise.
Yeah, definitely. It's, for me, I love the scope of the games. The amount of different things you can do in a Battlefield game is almost unmatched in a lot of multiplayer shooter games. I think it's really fascinating to me to see how this game came about randomly, and really found its niche, and it's become a meme now, but those only in Battlefield moments.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it on the head there. It's no other shooter out there, at least not that I've played, has such a wide range of stuff that you can do. Like most, again, referring to like a Call of Duty or Rainbow Six Siege or something like that, they're very like small scale and linear, and it obviously doesn't take away from those games because that's what they're designed to be. But Battlefield just has that, like, it pretty much just takes that and then expands the map by like 10 times the size and adds vehicles and just there's so many things to do. And I think it's completely unmatched in that regard. I've never played another shooter that has been anything close to it in that way.
Yeah, I mean, if I jumped into Call of Duty and started and got a Battlefield experience, I'd be disappointed because I'd be going in there to get a Call of Duty experience, and then all of a sudden I'm playing Battlefield, and like vice versa.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about this either in this episode later on or in a future episode. But there's a lot of things interesting about Battlefield 2042 that are going to be coming about now that the lead guy on Call of Duty is part of Battlefield now, but we'll talk about that later. We mentioned it earlier, but Battlefield 1. Let's talk about some Battlefield 1, and then I want to touch back on Battlefield 3 because I still have not played that game, so I want to pick your brain on it. But let's talk Battlefield 1, man. It's that experience, and I think it's the first AAA showing for World War One. If I remember correctly, it was one of the earlier ones to really explore that era in a really detailed, and it really honored the past and didn't take too many liberties with it.
At least as far as I know, like unless there was some that were out before I was really into gaming. I think it is like the first World War One game that I'd really seen, or at least AAA games anyway, that sort of made it like a big thing. And like you said, it really did. I mean, obviously it's hard to tell because I wasn't in World War One, but it really did nail that like vibe of World
Man,
War One.
You look great for your age.
But yeah, it did like it really just. The immersion side of it, not only in the campaign but just in multiplayer as well. It just like the whole aesthetic of the game was like spot on. I think that's my favorite part about the game is just the feeling of World War One when you play it. It really feels like a war when you're playing multiplayer. And stuff.
Man, the reload of the weapons, the sniper, exactly. Oh man, the animations that they had like nailed it perfectly. Like obviously it would take a lot longer to reload your weapon in real life, but I think they nailed the balance between like realism and gameplay in Battlefield 1.
Yeah, I thought they it was honestly as good as it could have been because like you said, in real life, like I'm pretty sure most of those, I mean there's even a few weapons in the game that I don't think were even around at the time, or they were more like prototypes and stuff. Most of the automatic weapons and stuff, I don't think they really were around back then, but I thought that they did it so well that they didn't seem out of place. Like it didn't seem like, oh, that's completely unrealistic. And like you said, with the reloads and stuff like that, it was like, it was done. You could clearly tell it was like a longer reload and, all those different animations than most of the other games, but it didn't make the game feel like slow or clunky or anything. So I thought honestly, out of any shooter I've ever played, that might be the most like, I guess, aesthetically pleasing games I've ever played in terms of just the sound design, the animation, the map design, all that stuff. It was perfect. And
I've noticed too on most of your videos on the Sammy Boy channel, you use Battlefield 1 for background gameplay, and I personally really appreciate that too.
Yeah, it's for me, it's probably the one that I'm enjoying the most going back to, probably tied with Battlefield 4, especially recently with, I guess, the reveal of 2042. It makes you kind of want to scratch that like a modern itch a bit, but over the last, I guess, probably the whole last year, really, it's probably been the main Battlefield game that I've been playing, probably alongside with Battlefield 5. I do still enjoy that, but it didn't hit me in the same way that Battlefield 1 hit, and it's always fun to go back. Like I couldn't tell you the last time I jumped on and didn't have fun playing that game.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just got that feel, man. Question for you, and this is something that like really I love so much with Battlefield 1 is the campaign. What are some of the things that you really loved about that campaign?
The thing that I remember the most about it is like just the brutality of pretty much every single one of the war stories. They were all so kind of like depressing
emotional.
and like sad. Yeah, like they really hit you, and it was like, wow, that like this. Obviously not this exact situation, but like this type of stuff happened in real life, and it must have been pretty crazy. So I think the brutality and just the emotional side of it was probably the part that hit me the most.
Yeah, and it starts you out with the perfect like taste of what you're going to get with the rest of the stories, with that opening where you are not expected to survive. You will die.
Yeah.
This is a frontline experience. This is what war was like. So we're going to start you off with that, and how stupidly depressing it is.
Yeah, it was like, I think that was the best opening to the game that they could have had. It was pretty much just, like you said, it was like, this is what it was like back then. You are most likely going to die, and you just have to deal with that.
There is no hope for you.
Yeah.
It hits those moments where like you're seriously feeling for these characters, and I think they did a really good job with those vignettes, that they really captured the feel of the time frame and what the different people that experience these these war moments really faced.
Yeah, it was like one of the few, especially the way it was done, because obviously it wasn't just like a campaign from A to B. You kind of had the separate stories, and the fact that in those small stories, they probably were only like, probably only just over an hour or so each. But you felt connected to the characters even just in like within an hour. And so I thought that was so well done. The fact that you can make people care about the characters after such a short time, like in any other game, probably takes me like 4 to 5 hours to even care about anyone. But in the Battlefield 1 stories, it was like pretty much instant. Like as soon as they introduced the story, I was like, damn, I actually really care about these characters, and I hope they survive and stuff.
Yeah, especially in a multiplayer shooter campaign where usually you're like, oh, this is this ex-military, go back into shoot, pew pew, I'm buff and I'm gonna destroy everything, and like you don't really care for him because he's an a-hole. Like, there's nothing there.
Yeah, exactly.
And they really captured that immersive feel to the game. And I really appreciated the abilities where what I did with the campaign is like each night I would play a story, and it worked out perfectly. Like right before bed, I jump on and play through a story. So it's like a playable movie or TV show, really.
Yeah, it was really the first way I'd actually seen that done, as far as I can remember, like just having separate little stories. And I was pretty skeptical when they first like announced it. I was like, I'm not sure. Pretty much for the reason I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to care about like 30 different characters spread between like 6 stories. But they nailed it, man. It was so good.
Jumping back, so I've been training for Battlefield 2042. I'm not the most skilled first-person shooter player. Usually, like historically, I've been like a story-driven game guy, but I have been intentionally putting in the hours for Battlefield and Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, and Battlefield 1, so I can really get prepped for Battlefield 2042. And Battlefield 4 is so freaking fun. Gunmaster, that has been my addiction recently. Oh my gosh.
It is very, very fun. I haven't played that in a long time, but man, yeah, that is a great game.
I love it's so fast paced, but also not brutal like team deathmatches sometimes, where you start off on basically the same foot and you just progress through it. And I feel myself improving. Like I will get murdered, and then I'll find a moment where I can get the kill, and it's so rewarding. But going back even further, one game, Battlefield 3, what is it about Battlefield 3 that really brings it for you?
I mean, it is a very similar game to Battlefield 4, and I think it has the same sort of reasons behind it. The game before that was Bad Company 2, which, like I said, that was kind of one of the first ones that I had sunk hours into, and that game was great, but it was like the step up from that to Battlefield 3 was just like crazy. The graphics and I'm pretty sure they had like a larger, player count per game and stuff like that. And yeah, it was just the general scale of the game compared to Bad Company 2, it just felt like such a big like step up. And that was like, at least for me, that was probably the first Battlefield that I saw that like was kind of rivaling Call of Duty, like the trailer and all that. And I remember they had like an open beta for it and everyone was playing it. And that was like the first one that, kind of like opened everyone's eyes to the franchise, because Bad Company 2 was really good and it sold fairly well, I'm pretty sure, but it never really seemed like it rivaled Call of Duty. But then, Battlefield 3 was like, to me, that was Battlefield's like a rival on the scene of first-person shooters, really.
Like, hey, look at this guy. He's actually doing something over there.
Yeah.
So, and then we have, historically, I mean, depending on the game, historically, Battlefield has been either like a current day modern shooter or a little near future shooter, and then through Battlefield 1 and then Battlefield 5 we got to see them go back in time. Battlefield 1 was a really good fresh air for the franchise. Like, it was just a really good reset. And then we got Battlefield 5. What are your thoughts on Battlefield 5?
I was actually talking about it in my Discord just yesterday, and the way I summed it up was that I think it's a good game, but I don't think it's necessarily a good Battlefield game.
That is a fantastic way to put it.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a Battlefield game to me. And like I said, it was still a good game. I probably still played like 1,000 hours in it. So
yeah,
I still really enjoyed it, but it just doesn't have that like feeling about it. I can't really put a finger on it, but it just doesn't have that like
it's almost arcadey.
Like, it feels a bit closer to like a Call of Duty game or something that's not quite Battlefield. Obviously, like we were saying earlier, Battlefield just has like that whole other element to it that you can't get in any other games. But then Battlefield 5 just seemed a bit closer to those other games like Call of Duty and stuff. So the way I describe it is, like I said, I still think it's a good game. I still, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10 for a first-person shooter, but for a Battlefield game, I'd probably give it like a 5 out of 10. Like, it just didn't hit the same as, Battlefield 3 and 4. And then, like you said, I think Battlefield 1 was like the first departure from that modern setting. So I think it was really good and it was like a nice change of pace. But then
they got a little too
kind of back
confident
that up with another one, it was just like, I don't know if we needed that. I think a World War II one would have been great if they did it, say, we got Battlefield 1, then we got another modern one, and then World War II after that or something. But it just felt a bit like really it's been, since 2016? Was that when Battlefield 1 came out? So 2016 until now, it's been historical shooters in the franchise, whereas before that it was like all modern. So I think that's really the main thing, is it didn't really have that Battlefield feel to it, plus just the setting, like, it's almost like setting fatigue in a way, because World War 1 and 2 are fairly similar in that regard.
Yeah,
I think most people are kind of just bored of that, like.
And we've had so many different World War II games in the past. Even just looking at, there's a couple games in the Battlefield franchise, and then there's many, many entries in Call of Duty throughout the years that went back to that era. And while I love a historical shooter, like, don't get me wrong, I love me some historical shooters, I think it's about time. It's definitely past time for a modern or near future shooter, which leads us perfectly to the Battlefield 2042 reveal trailer, and then the gameplay reveal trailer as well. So we both share a similar opinion on the reveal trailer. So while I love everything that is in the trailer, I just feel it wasn't very well paced.
That's exactly the same thoughts as me. It felt a bit. It honestly feels like if they took the trailer and just condensed it, so instead of 5 minutes, it was 3 minutes 50, for example, or 3 minutes 30. Then it feels like that would have been a bit more like exciting, I guess, because there were a lot of there was a lot of different scenes that just kind of went on a bit, and you were kind of like wondering, am I meant to be looking at something in here, or is this just kind of like dead space? So I really enjoyed it. I honestly would still give it like close to a 9 out of 10, because it was so, like, it got me so hyped. But then it definitely, I think it was just an odd trailer. It was just a bit different than what I had really expected, because we talked about this off air, but like there's like a dice feeling to trailers. They always have that same sort of feeling, and they always just nail it. And this one just was really like not a dice trailer in a way. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, because I absolutely loved it. I probably watched it like 50 times.
Exactly. Yeah, it's everything that they showed was incredible. Like, I was going through and dicing it up, pun intended, and just really like trying to deep dive on what was there. But when I watched it live around the 3-minute mark, I was like, okay, it's still going.
Yeah, exactly. It was really the same for me. Just a bit of like kind of just dragged on a little bit, but yeah, I was too hyped to really care at the time.
Exactly. Like, I was already excited about the game, whether or not we got a trailer. But
yeah,
I almost my girlfriend and I were talking about it. We were watching it together again because, like you, I mean, I've watched that thing on repeat so many times, and I was showing her because she didn't see anything about it, and I was like, "So, what did you think?" She's like, "It felt really long, and the music was weird." I was like, "Right?"
Yeah. Well, at least it's not just us then, because I thought I was like, everyone else that I've talked to has been overwhelmingly positive, and like we both are as well. But yeah, I kind of felt a little bit crazy. I remember telling you like, the reveal trailer, I'm not too sure if that's like going to be the best one. And I was kind of waiting to see whether everyone agreed, and pretty much everyone but you was like, "No, that was awesome," and I was like, "Yeah, well, it was." I didn't say it wasn't awesome, but
yeah.
it was just
well, I love everything about it. I just thought it was weird.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Could not describe it any better. I loved it, but it was just different.
Yeah, it's different. It's like when you get a really good meal, but there's like this one spice that you can't really tell what it is, and you're like, "That's really good," but it's weird.
Yeah.
And then completely on the opposite side of things, we have the gameplay reveal trailer, which is a DICE trailer through and through, man. Oh my gosh.
That just honestly just felt like exactly the same as like the Battlefront 2 trailers and stuff. It just felt so DICE, and it was, I loved it.
And it gave a great idea of some of the pacing for the game and what to expect. Like, we're going to have a whole podcast episode specifically on the customization and the in-game aspect of that, but I remember watching through the trailer and did a reaction video on the channel. Like, I paused. I was like, "Whoa, look at that." That's kind of like the stark contrast from that to the reveal trailer. Was like, it was actually so like fast in terms of the pacing that you had to like pause it and be like, "Holy what did I just see?" Because there was like 3 things going on at once. Wait, what was that?
So much.
Go back. There was this one scene, it was, so the trailer's kind of cut up into 3 different parts, not like officially, but it's got the vibe of like 3 different parts where it starts to transition into things. Like, it shows the infantry, it starts off with a lot of like the helicopter, the vehicle play, and then goes into infantry, and the transition from the vehicles to the infantry section. There's a part where I saw part Welsh sniping, and I had to be like, it was like 1 second. I was like, I recognize that guy.
Yeah. I remember seeing the same thing. I actually tagged him on Twitter and said, "I saw you like prone sniping up there on the hill." And he said, "Just laying down, having a bit of a rest, trying to cover up the tracks." We all saw him.
Exactly. Like, the meme with Leonardo DiCaprio and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? That was me.
Yes.
Look at that. But so, question for you: what are your expectations with the game, having seen the reveal trailer and then the gameplay reveal trailer? What has those things really hyped you up most for? Because there's many different aspects in that. There's the size of the maps, there's the weather, there's the vehicles, there's the actual specialists themselves, which is fascinating. What's your go-to when you're like, okay, what's the thing that you're most really tying down to look at?
That's very tough, because honestly, there's so many things. I think, the overarching thing was like just the setting. It just looks like it's back to Battlefield 4. So that overall was the most exciting, but obviously that covers like a bunch of different things. I think the really the scale, like the map that we saw in the gameplay trailer, which is Hourglass, like that map just looks absolutely unreal, and that's only one of 7 maps. So I think it's just the setting and like the scale of those maps. That I think that is roughly 3 to 4 times the size of what is it? I think it's Hamada from Battlefield 5.
Okay.
Which is like one of the bigger maps. So like it's going to be huge, and I think that's the thing that I'm most excited for, is just seeing how well that plays in, you know, with the bigger player count and stuff like that. I think that's probably the thing I'm most excited for, just like witnessing 128 players on the map at once. Like we've seen it in games like Warzone and stuff, but in a multiplayer game, that's just crazy.
Yeah. It's what I'm very interested to see is the vehicles and how they're going to tie into getting across the map. Because like we're getting some of the largest maps in Battlefield, and it's not just like there's one map that's really, really big. It's all of them are huge. With the Antarctica map being tied with the biggest map in Battlefield. Is that right?
I think it was like just smaller than one from Battlefield 1943. It might have been. I can't remember. Okay. They showed like a graphic, and it had.
I got so confused by those graphics.
Yeah, the first time I saw it, I was like, "What even am I looking at?" But I eventually picked it up. But I think, Breakaway. I think that map's called. I think that's like, if it's not the biggest, I think it's like at least close to being on par with the biggest we've seen. So I'm so excited to just see how that plays out in multiplayer. Really,
I've been I was talking about this on stream, but there's 100% chance that we're going to see a mini game on the Antarctica map where you're just racing the little speeder things.
Yes, absolutely. That's gonna be
like I'm so pumped. This is what I'm
like so excited for, is just like getting like a big, getting a group of people together and trying to get the biggest like squad you can, and trying to just have those, similar to what we all did in Battlefront 2, where it was just you get like a full lobby of people.
Yeah,
doing that and like hopping, like imagine 128 players all like just sort of stopped playing and not shooting each other, and just standing there and letting the tornado like pick every one of us up and just send us across the map and stuff. It's going to be so much fun. There's so many little like the community side of it is going to have like so much fun, I think.
And I think too, like the overall size and scale of the game mode, or the game itself, and the huge and heavy focus on multiplayer experiences is going to be really fun to start feeling out the vibe of what this game's community looks like. Like what are the levels of experiences? What are the only in Battlefield moments that are going to be specific to this game? What are some of the things that we're going to see? My big question is, how will the tornado affect gameplay? So in Smash Bros, they've got like the maps where like Wily from Sonic, or is it Sonic or Pac-Man? I think it's Sonic, right? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
But like he'll jump into the middle of the map and it's super annoying, and like you don't have that in competitive play. I'm curious to see if that is going to be the same thing for the tornadoes. Like everyone's just going to be super annoyed with it and try not to be on that map, or if it's going to be a big part of the experience. What do you think? Like
you were kind of saying about the different, like, I guess, groups of players, like there's going to be some more casual players and stuff like that. I think for people who are just going to jump on and like just, they don't care about KD and stuff, they just want to have a bit of fun, I think the tornado is going to be like amazing. But I do think I mean, it depends how quickly it moves and how far away it sort of pulls you in from, but I do think I'm kind of just like, I wouldn't say worried, but I'm just curious to see how it actually affects games where like maybe you're driving a tank and your team really needs to capture the last objective on Conquest, and you need to like get that extra one so that you're going to come from behind and win, and you're driving a tank towards it and then the tornado just like gets in your way. Those type of moments, it might get a little bit frustrating, but in saying that, it's also like whenever you get frustrated by that type of stuff, it's also often like still a bit funny, and you're like, oh my god, that's so annoying, but like it's you can't help but laugh at it. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes. I think as long as it's not overdone for me, if it's every single game that it's there and it's like there for like a quarter of the game, that'll be kind of annoying. But if it's just like, you know,
like one in every 5 games maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like if it just randomly maybe you get it 2 games in a row, but then maybe like you go 4 games without it, for example. If it's like that and it's completely random and it's also not tied to any specific time, so like
it could start at the beginning, it could start at the middle, the end, or not even show up.
Like every game starts sunny and then it gets a little bit rainy, and then by the end of the game it's like the tornado's there every time. That would be a little bit annoying, I think. But yeah, if it's just completely random, I think it'll be fine. It's just as long as it's not overdone.
Yeah, I definitely foresee, like, if they go really heavy-handed on the tornado, I definitely see them adjusting the likelihood of it being there. Because, like, it's a technical feat that this is even going to be in the game.
Yeah, they actually, in the, like, early reveal event, they went into depth on, like, how... So, pretty much, they came up with the ideas, like, they were all pitching ideas, and someone was like... how to go if we put a tornado on the map. And I remember them saying that, and then all the like tech developers were like, oh no, please don't make us do that.
It's like the difference between a marketing team and the technical team. It's like, we can do this, and the technical team's like, yeah, we can do that.
So yeah, in one way it's like they've probably put so much work into this, and they want to see it as much as they can, I guess. So they might put it in there heaps, or like we were saying, if people kind of get annoyed by it and it's, you know, the novelty runs off after a month, then they might tone it down a bit or something. But I think as long as they're just listening to the community, then they sort of can't go wrong with it. Because if everyone's saying like, please tone it down a bit, then I'm sure they'll do that. But yeah.
My helicopter has been taken out 15 times in the last 3 matches. Please. But definitely to start, like, it's going to be fun experience. Like you said, it's going to be super annoying, but also you're going to have a laugh right afterwards. Like, you're going to get murdered and then immediately be like, oh, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing that I'm most excited for down the line, I'm not sure how much I'll love the tornado, but like I know the first time I see it in game, that's going to be like one of those memories that, like, in 50 years when I'm thinking back on the games I played, that will be something I remember. So yeah, at least to start off with, I'm like super excited to see it. But yeah,
I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to find the tallest building nearest to the tornado, get the wingsuit, and then fly right around.
Yep, that'll be me too.
You're supposed to be going the other way. No.
That's the funny thing is, like, in the trailer it was portrayed as like, and like obviously it's a tornado, so everyone's running away from it. But like in reality, in the game, everyone's just gonna sprint head first into it.
How close can I get before I get sucked in?
Yeah. It'll be so much fun.
There's no way that's not going to happen, and I believe the plan is for all the Wayfinder boys to hop on together and
absolutely
jump in. So we all need to like time it together and then jump in all at once. 3, 2,
so good.
1. On that similar note, what have you been doing on the battlefront, or battlefield, I should say?
So like the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, I've mostly just been doing like news type of videos and really just just trying to cover the launch of the game really. But probably, to be honest, the channel will probably be very similar to the main channel, but just for Battlefield instead of Battlefront. So a lot of guidance and maybe some concepts and like Mythbusters and stuff like that. That's probably the majority of the stuff I'll do, as long as along with like, you know, the news stuff and all that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it kind of works well for me in the Battlefront community. So it's, I don't know, it's something I've had practice with, making those like sort of detailed guides and stuff, and it's always fun for me too, just to learn about the game and hopefully improve myself as I go as well. So yeah, that's probably the stuff I'll cover. But at the moment, it's mostly just a bit of news and speculation, really.
Yeah. Have you been hopping into, like, just for fun? I mean, we're all jumping into Battlefield to record gameplay, but what are some of the things that you've been doing just for fun in Battlefield? Are you trying to, like, do you have like another game that you're just jumping into to prep for it, or what are you doing on that front?
I've been kind of jumping between Battlefield 5, 1, and 4 over the last like 3 months. I've been kind of the same as you, like trying to prepare for it, I guess, because I've been playing a lot of Warzone.
Yeah, got to get in the Battlefield mindset.
Yeah, so it's such a different game that I need to, just kind of get used to the gunplay a bit more. And I also just had that itch to sort of come back once I knew, I started to realise, like, oh shit, we're getting a new Battlefield this year. So, kind of just been jumping between those three pretty evenly, I'd say. Like, they're kind of all pretty even in terms of how much I play them. Just not really trying too hard, mostly just been, pretty casual about it, jumping in and just trying to, like, get the hang of things again. And, just almost like reliving the good old days, really. Just remembering how fun those games are and, mucking around with just doing funny stuff and flying choppers into buildings and just this typical stupid Battlefield stuff that you do, really.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a fun experience, and I think I would say 100% the servers for Battlefield, all of the games right now have been very, very full, and it's good to see the hype of people for Battlefield 2042 jumping back into those games.
Yeah, I think Battlefield 4, they actually just had to upgrade the servers because it was overly populated. So
that's awesome.
I was talking to a few people, like, as pretty much on the day or the day after that the reveal trailer came out, and I remember saying, like, watch that game blow up again right now, because people are going to be so, like, just wanting to get that, I guess, experience back before heading into the new one, because obviously, it's been so well received that you could just always tell it was going to kind of blow up the old games as well.
Yeah, exactly. So Battlefield, this is my first time actually jumping into Battlefield 4. Completely skipped over that game, and oh my goodness, is it so fun. Like, the maneuverability, I've been playing a lot of Battlefield 5, so going back into Battlefield 4 with the maneuverability is a little frustrating, because I'm like, I know I can get in that window in Battlefield 5, but I can't do it right now.
Yeah.
But it's been super fun.
Yeah, it's always weird to go back, because especially too, because you never realize those things. You kind of always think, like, oh, that's always been in the game, but then you realize the small improvements they make between each game. So I think, like, the fact that Battlefield 4 is so good, and then both Battlefield 1 and 5 have sort of added those smaller elements. Like, I think the gunplay in both of those games is a little bit better than Battlefield 4, and there's just been, even though the overall games might not be better than Battlefield 4, like, there's been those small improvements in other elements that it's really exciting to see. Like, those are probably going to be implemented into essentially another Battlefield 4 game when it comes out. So it's really exciting to get. It feels like it's going to be a mix of, like, Battlefield 3 and 4 in terms of the setting and the scale and stuff, and then it'll add those, like, the gunplay and the maneuverability and stuff from Battlefield 1 and 5. And it just feels like it's all sort of coming together at the perfect time, really.
It's like they're going back and cherry picking, like, this is really cool in Battlefield 5, this is fantastic in Battlefield 1, this is really cool in Battlefield 4, this was cool in 3. Even, like, oh, hey, that one thing in this game, just throw that in there too.
Yeah.
On a future episode of the podcast too, I want to talk about the storyline for this game. I know people have, like, been diving deep into it, but I would talk with you about how scarily close and hard hitting that storyline is. It's like, man, this could happen. Dice, why are you making a documentary?
Yeah. It's I actually just had made a video just the other week on the setting, and I remember, like, when I was recording it, I pretty much said the same thing. I was like, I think some people are going to think this is unrealistic, but when you actually stop and think about the world right now this is actually not that far-fetched.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually it's kind of eerie in a way that it's like, it's almost like a slightly alternate universe than our one, where like if just something went wrong, say for example, like last year, if Trump got voted in again, maybe then it would end up going down this line or something. So it's just, yeah, it's cool that they kind of had that element to it where it's like it's not actually that far-fetched, because most of the other games are obviously like, they're very, I mean, the World War 1 and 2 games are obviously historical, but Battlefield 3 and 4 were very just like made up war, whereas this genuinely feels like it's, you know, somewhat real at least.
Definitely. It's a little too close. Calm down, guys. But I think with that, we'll call it an episode. Thank you all so much for listening. This is episode 1 of the Battlefield Show. I've been your host, Sage Goodwin, and I'm joined by Sammy Boy. Links to both of our stuff will be in the description. Go check out Sammy's channel. If you want to see stuff about Star Wars stuff, go to Star Wars, or Sammy Boy Star Wars, right?
Yep, just recently changed the name actually, so yeah, pretty much the exact same as the Battlefield channel, but with Star Wars on the end.
Yep. And then you've rebranded your second channel, which was Sammy Plays, to Sammy Boy. Your game tag, what started you off in gaming, keeping that close, because you started it with multiplayer shooters and first-person shooters.
Yeah, exactly.
So links to all of that will be in the description. Definitely click subscribe, or I think it's follow now on podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you next week. We'd like to thank all of you for listening, supporting the show, subscribing, as well as Ethan for making us the beautiful, beautiful thumbnail for this podcast.